If a person, any human being, is told often enough, you're nothing, you are nothing, you account for nothing, you count for nothing, you are less than a human being, I have no visibility of you, you are nothing. If any person is told that often enough, the person finally begins to believe it, and not only believe it, to say, you think I'm nothing, I will show you where nothing is, and becomes even lower than he or she is accused of being. It is very, very hard for a young black man anywhere to sit in his home, in his place of living, in the streets sometimes, and believe that this country cares about him. It is very hard. So if the country doesn't care, if his peers are going down the hole, then he says, well, they look just like me, they're nothing. So that proves I'm nothing. In that case, their lives are worth nothing. And I can not only take their lives, I can allow them to take mine. People will very often try to respond to you on the level on which you address them. So if you say, aren't you wonderful, aren't you splendid, my goodness, you're beautiful, oh, you're so bright, people will try, even if they're not, they really will try to lift themselves up to that. On the other hand, if you say, you know, you're a dog, you really are so low, you'll never be anybody. In fact, you're nobody now and you never have been. Sooner or later, that person will respond on the level on which he or she is addressed. Mm-hmm. He will say, figuratively or literally, let me show you where dog is. Let me show you where low really is. I will show you that. Years ago, I did a movie called Poetic Justice. And there was a young man the first day who cursed so I couldn't believe it. I walked around behind him and I tried to ignore him. But the second day, he and another young man, black man, ran to each other and they were about to fight, and hundreds of extras started to run away. But one black man walked up to the two young men, and I walked up, and I took one by his shoulder. I said, let me speak to you. He said, if these men you do would do. I said, let me speak to you, honey. If I tell you something, I said, no, let me talk to you, please. And he finally calmed down. And I said, do you know how much you're needed? Do you know what you mean to us? Do you know that hundreds of years of struggle have been for you? You? Please, baby, take a minute. Don't lose your life on a Zoom. I put my arm around him. He started to weep. The tears came down. That was Tupac Shakur. I took him, I walked him down into a little gully and kept his back to the people so they wouldn't see him. And I used my hands to dry his cheeks. And I kept talking to him sweetly, sweetly. For the next week, while I was on that film, whenever I'd walk by, he would be saying, so I told you. He said, good morning, Miss Angelou. One of the saddest things in the world is to see a cynical young person, because it means that he and she have gone from knowing nothing to believing nothing. It is so sad. We need you so desperately. Not enough adults have told you, you are all we have. Everything we've done, negative and positive, has been for you. You are all there is for us. And not enough adults tell you that. But we should tell you that every morning, while you're brushing your teeth, while you're pulling on your jeans, while you're having your breakfast, while you're on the bus, on the streetcar, on the subway. Some adults should be telling you, darling, you're the best we've got, and we need you. I notice on airplanes, I have almost 2 million miles on Delta, so you know I'm always in there. I notice that if a person is very nervous or gets frightened when there's turbulence, if the moment that happens, even though I'm frightened, if I move over to the person and say, let me help you. Listen, all is well. I've been through this many times. the person will hold on to my arm or my hand, and suddenly I'm free and I'm rid of fear. So it's something quite marvelous to help somebody else. You have no idea how much you help yourself. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as benign neglect. If you neglect a child, that is malignant. That is an active action. And the people in the black community and the black community entirely has been victimized by neglect. Now, there are always those in any society who will be able to, by virtue of energy, the good luck to be in a particular place, maybe intelligence, not always intelligence though, that person or those persons may be able to climb up that sheer wall of ice, get footholds, knock pitons in, and climb up somehow. And of course, when that person climbs up, the larger society is apt to look at them and say, well, you see, he did it. Why don't you? To all the others who either were not lucky, did not have that particular blessing to be in that place at that time, did not have all that energy, but deserves to reach that high level as much as anyone else. It was my fortune to have a child when I was 16. I finished high school 3 weeks before my son was born. Now here was my blessing. I refused to go on welfare. I refused to take money from my mother. And when my son was 3 months old, I moved out of my mother's house and got a room with cooking privileges. I did force myself to read, and I did force myself to work. I have taken my son all over the world. He finished high school in Egypt, where I was working. Took his first degree from the University of Ghana, where I was working. I realized this, and this is what I have to say to the young women who already have children. Remember that is somebody. That's not just an appendage. It's not just somebody you attach to your hip and you hold in your arms. That's a person. A person who may have the most horrible life if you're not careful, or a person who can have the most glorious life if you're careful. Just remember that is somebody, and that is somebody's child, your child, and that you are somebody's child. So try to enrich yourself. Don't take no. Don't take low, and under no circumstances must you accept being battered by anybody, including life. There is And Still I Rise, which is a poem of mine that is very popular in the country. And a number of people use it. A lot of black people and a lot of white people use it, which it begins, you may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. So there is that poem, and it goes on. And then a poem just for women, which is called Phenomenal Woman. And I love the poem. I wrote it for black women and white women and Chinese women and Japanese women and Jewish women. I wrote it for Native American women, Aleut, Eskimo ladies. I wrote it for all women, very fat women, very thin, pretty, plain. Now, I know men are phenomenal, but they have to write their own poems. Many people wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. When I try to show them, they think I'm telling lies. I say it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally.